go live. There we go. So welcome to Kitchen Conversations on a wonderful Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for all of our faithful viewers out there. And thank you to all of our friends that are joining us now on Facebook. I am so excited to be here today with two friends in the community. One is City Councilwoman Linda Redmon from the city of Snohomish, and the other is Sarah Jensen. She's a small business owner as well as the market director for the Snohomish Farmers Market, as well as the upcoming Lake Stevens Farmers Market. And I have to plug in for potentially next year's Mill Creek Farmers Market. So Sarah just has it all going on. But welcome, ladies, to Kitchen Conversations. I always like to have a coffee cup with me. It's been one of those days. I'm just going to show you. I have a bottle of Pellegrino, so because I just needed some fizz in my life. So hopefully you guys have an equally fun libation if you need one, and we'll get our conversation rolling. Oh, awesome! See, Sarah, you've always got the best mugs. Yes, and see, you got glass, Linda. I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, today we're here to talk about small businesses in the time of COVID during this crisis. And honestly, there's a multitude of crises going on right now. And so as we have our conversation, we're just going to be really aware of that and probably talk a little bit about some things that we didn't plan on talking about a week ago. So thank you for joining us on this journey for everyone out there today. But first, I just want to open it up for Sarah and Linda to tell us a little bit about your organizations and what you do and who you represent.
I'll let Sarah go
start
first.
with you. Oh, or Sarah, sorry, I should have said which one.
I am Sarah. I run 3 markets in Snohomish County, Snohomish, Stanwood, and Lake Stevens. Both Stanwood and Lake Stevens are starting this week, so I'm really excited. We've definitely been up against some challenges with COVID-19 and kind of the chaos that has presented for 2020. I started my own business, which is Mockingjay Press, about 7 years ago when I just saw the need for small businesses to have some help in the marketing and social media field. And it has blossomed into something that I never thought possible, with managing markets and doing some event planning and still helping some of those small businesses in town with their social media needs.
That's awesome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Linda Redmon. I am a first-term Snohomish City Council member. I'm also on the Board of Health for Snohomish County. Really loving being in both of those positions. It's been it's been a very steep learning curve lately due to COVID and trying to understand how best to assist the small business community, both in Snohomish itself and also the broader region. So I'm looking forward to hearing questions about what kind of information you all need that we can provide to help you get up and running when the time comes for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and I guess both of you have really big roles in the community. Both of you have big roles that handle small business. I want to encourage folks that are listening, especially looking at us live on Facebook, please send in questions if you do have them for either Sarah or Linda, because we'd love to answer them live on air. But I'll just start with kind of, how are you holding up, and how are things going in your spaces right now in this challenging time? And Linda, do you want to go ahead and start us off with that one?
Well, today my head is a little kind of in another direction than what we originally set out to talk about, just because we've been dealing with the repercussions of, I don't know if people have heard, but we had a lot of armed people come to protect Snohomish on Sunday from a rumored Antifa attack. And so we had a lot of police presence, and then also a lot of, I guess you'd call them citizen militia. I'm not really sure what they would want to be called, but that's probably a good descriptor of them. And there were mixed mixed reactions to that, I would just say,
Mhm.
on Sunday, as well as they continued to have their presence yesterday. And we had Black Lives Matter protests as well, which were completely peaceful, but there was a little bit of
Mhm.
friction between the two groups. And so I've been kind of dealing with the aftermath of those things all day today. And so I'm a little distracted. I apologize, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to be here with also the subject matter that we set out to talk, because I know that's also very important for people to move forward, and you know, what we're dealing with here in the city will pass, and we'll try to handle it as thoughtfully and carefully as possible. But obviously I'm just my head's a little
Yeah.
bit there right now, so I apologize for that.
No, it's fine. I think we're all a little weary and lightheaded from just every day. There, it seems like we've been just hit with more and more. So, and I'm so sorry for the folks that got caught in the crossfire of that yesterday. I can't even imagine. So my hearts really go out to those families. And Sarah, how are you holding up, and how are things looking in your space?
You know, I felt really good leading up to the opening of Snohomish market season, which was, we've got 4 weeks under our belt. You know,
Mm,
things were starting to progress and get, I don't want to say normal again, because they're still not very anti-normal,
mm,
but it was starting to feel like that kind of machine was running. And then everything in the last week and a half or so has just thrown
mhm,
it completely off course. You know, even in the beginning, I didn't think COVID was going to affect farmers markets. And even at the beginning of last week, I never would have thought that the horrible things that have happened with George Floyd and everything that
mhm,
blossomed from that could affect farmers markets. But you know, we're now establishing kind of a phone tree type of a deal if we have to call off a market at the last minute because of threats.
mm,
um, you know, we've fought real hard to get our vendors a place to sell, and we're still fighting hard to get the rest of our vendors back into our markets.
mhm,
So this is just kind of the last thing we needed as a whole. We're
mhm,
a nonprofit. We almost all the markets that I run operate as a nonprofit. We're not in it to make a whole lot of money. We're in it to pay me and maybe another staff
mhm,
person and some music, and get our permits taken care of. But we're set to lose quite a bit of money. And if this type of thing continues, if we just keep getting hit while we're down, I'm afraid
mhm.
for the future of farmers markets. People love them, but I don't think they fully understand the amount of work that goes into putting one on. So
And
feeling a
yeah,
little weary, kind of like
yeah.
Linda this week. It's been real tiring.
Well, and I will say, the farmers market, our family's been out to it. It is such a well-run, safe environment. And when I say safe, I mean COVID safe, right? You've done everything right. I mean, it's the social distancing, the organization, the folks that are coming out are actually paying attention to the rules. And so I can't speak. Yeah, I know I'm sure you've got some outliers, but when we were there, we were like, everybody seemed pretty, in line, walking the right directions. And so the point of this show and this conversation is really to say, look, small businesses are there. Let's help them thrive, and let's figure out how to go forward. And as the week's events have gone over, I just go, you can't be hit with this too. And the one thing I think of is, um, to protect small businesses, we have to make them open and accessible and friendly, and having folks out there with guns and ulterior motives does the exact opposite. So just to really be thinking about how do we get that consumer confidence back, and it means not only feeling safe in terms of health, but in terms of safe. So, but thank you for everything both of you are doing on that front, because personally it's working. um, so I think, something else we wanted to talk about is just the changes, and I can see it as a consumer, the changes that you've had to go through at the farmers market, to make it safe. Do you want to talk about any of those changes, and why it's some of the interactions you've had with the health department, things like that?
Sure. You know, a lot of the changes, they're difficult because we've spent so many years cultivating and creating a community that is a farmer's market, whether it's Snohomish or Stanwood or hopefully tomorrow Lake Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of really massaged messaging, to really create the atmosphere that we want, and to encourage and share the stories behind why supporting people at the market, why you might
Mm-hmm.
pay a little bit more. And some of that's been taken away because of necessary rules. We don't have vendors making their booths as pretty anymore, because the more things they have, the more things they have to wash when they go home or try to sanitize. One direction traffic, that, and kind of that in and out, like get in, get out, grocery shop. That's not the culture that we're used to. So having to relay that message feels a little bit like the big brother saying, no, you can't stay out late. And then picnicking, we're on a farm now, and there's some beautiful spaces to sit down and picnic. We can't do that. So it's been tough, and I understand to a certain extent. There's other rules, however, that are just very prohibitive and contradictory to what we're seeing in big box stores, Fred Meyer's or Target or any of those types of places. We can't currently have our artisans and crafters at the market.
Oh, wow.
And that makes up a big portion of our market and our market revenue when we charge, stall fees and things like that. So when I can run up the street and buy a necklace or a piece of clothing at Target, but we're telling our vendors who are small business owners that they can't sell there, it's really tough. And for a while it was even flower vendors, and we fought to get that remedied. So just kind of the gray area of why we're being held to higher standards than big box retail stores, when we keep hearing that, yes, the authorities, the powers that be care about small businesses. I start to question that when we're really, really hurting them by not giving them any venue to sell at this point in time.
Well, and I think that's a great point. And Linda, you've got that Main Street perspective in terms of, the actual Main Street that is in your city. And so is that kind of the same thing for you? I mean, what are your feelings for what would help those Main Street vendors?
Well, I mean, I definitely know that everybody wants to be open, and they want to be able to have as much capacity as possible, because it's so important to the survival of their businesses and survival of their families to be able to, welcome people in. Now, Snohomish itself has instituted a, I think it's Shop Safe Snohomish. I think that's the name of it.
Oh, nice.
And so it's really, we're messaging out there. We're doing all the businesses are going to be trying to make sure that they follow all these guidelines with, and enhanced hygiene and things like that. Really trying to make people feel that it is safe to be in our stores in Snohomish and shop, that we're all looking out for their safety and well-being and their health. So that's one of the ways that we've tried to make sure that it's a welcoming place again. And Sarah, I want you to know, I'm going to mention, and if anybody else speaks up too during this conversation, that there are certain things that they'd really like to have addressed by the health district. I will take that to them, just to say that these are some of the things that the community really needs to hear about. How do we make sure that we support our businesses, because we know that they're not out there trying to hurt anybody, they're just trying to make a living, and how do we help them find a way to do that? So I will definitely take that to them.
And that's a huge point too, is making sure folks connect with you, because the health department isn't out there trying to plot ways to keep folks shut down. It's really like, how do we do what makes sense? But the only way to know what makes sense is hearing directly from the business owners who can walk folks through. So it's it's really hard. I think so. I've got a question for you, Sarah. What do I do with my dog when I come to the market? Is Fido welcome? Just out of curiosity.
Unfortunately, no. We're normally a very pet-friendly market, but with the temporary location that we're renting and the health department rules, we are not allowed to have pets on site. So that's a twofold rule. So even as we move through the phases potentially this summer and allow a little bit more lenience in the market, we still won't be able to have dogs. And I would really beg people to not bring them. Last week we saw a lot of people leaving them in cars, and it's not safe.
Not safe. Yep. Nope. Not safe at all. Okay, Fido's staying home, but you can find some yummy treats at the market so that when you get home, maybe sneak them a little piece of that bread or something else that you find. So that's I'm glad that you said that, kind of that public service piece of it. So what I'm hearing, a lot of the challenges, hopefully some opportunities will come out of it, but what do you need from leaders? Like, Sarah, when you're looking at leadership either at the state level, at the local level, at the local health district level? Are there some specifics that you could say, you know what, could we do X, Y, and Z?
I think that we just need some clarity. I know that, and we're so thankful that farmers markets were deemed essential by the governor's office from the start. And that's been great. We've had to kind of communicate that messaging because people don't understand the difference between markets and a street fair or a festival. But also not forgetting that we were listed as essential business. So we're kind of waiting. We don't see anywhere in phase 2 where that includes us. And we think if retail operations can open up, we can follow the same types of rules and guidelines. So just making sure we're included in the conversation, and then consistency. I know that other markets have been inspected and they're not following all the rules that we were or have been. And it just makes it feel like I'm running in circles, working way too hard than I could be, backing off a little bit on certain things.
That's huge, that consistency piece of it, because as a consumer, right, I want to know that I'm being kept safe no matter which market I go to. And as much as I'm loyal to my local markets, if I do go down to another community, I want to make sure that those markets are equally as safe. So thank you for mentioning that. And I guess, Linda, is there anything from your perspective from a state or even, any level that you could see more leadership that could help the cities out? Because you're on the front line. Being a city council person you are literally on the front line of every aspect of this pandemic. So I don't envy you, but I just have to thank you for your leadership, because without leaders like you, we would be in a world of hurt.
Oh, thank you for saying that, April. But really, I'm just doing day by day, just like everybody else, really. But yeah, I'm hearing the frustration from you, Sarah, and some of your vendors and other businesses that there is not that clarity. And part of that is that there has been a lack of clarity at all levels, and everybody's kind of trying to make it up as we go along. Obviously, no one has dealt with this before. And part of it too, like the health district, the Snohomish Health District, we have 2 people who are basically communications people. They write the stuff, the guidelines that go out. And if you think about those 2 people trying to look at every single possibility, it's really impossible for them to know that. And that's why it's really important that if you are a business, if you're a vendor, if you are a farmer's market director, you let us know what exactly you need to hear about, because then they can address it. And I know, Sarah, you have done great advocacy for your markets and your vendors to try to make sure that those things are addressed. So I applaud you for that. And I know you are an extremely thorough person. And I know that you really try very hard to make sure that your vendors and your customers are taken care of very well. But anybody who's out there on Facebook or on the Zoom meeting, let us know what additional things haven't been addressed for you. If you've looked at the phase 2 guidelines, you're not seeing your particular situation, reach out, let us know what it is that you need that clarity on, because then you can feel confident moving forward that you're doing the right thing. You can just get started. You don't have to keep fishing around for what may be the right thing. We want to be able to try to provide that clarity, but obviously it's hard for everybody to know what's needed.
And that's a great point about phase 2. I had actually missed the fact that farmers markets weren't being talked about in phase 2. But to your point, Sarah, they're deemed essential, so they're open. But then how does it look in phase 2? How does it look in phase 3? So I think having folks like you at the table is going to be huge and hugely beneficial. Because I know we've already talked, and I'm looking forward to a winter market because it's a great way to shop and support local businesses, and it's something that our family looks forward to. But the question becomes, for you as a director, how do you get the guidance you need to keep it going? So yeah, I will definitely keep that in mind. I think as we look at this and we look at the changes that COVID has brought and all the different factors, right, in terms of education, in terms of health, and now with small businesses, as we kind of wrap things up, what would be some of the takeaways? And I guess I don't want to call them moonshots, but what would you see phase 2 looking like for your Main Street small businesses, for your small artisans, crafters, vendors? What would you want to see happen in that next phase?
Go ahead, Sarah.
Um, well, we want to have our full robust market. We had our best year ever last year for 2019. We became a $500,000 market, which is pretty substantial given what it was when I took over. And that's the total vendor revenue. So that means that they were doing well. It wasn't, we
Just
did well
you.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it really was more the vendor, and almost 70% of that was farm and food. So that's really, really promising. And so we came into this year like, yeah, we're gonna get it, and then it's just kind of so.
Wow.
I would love to have our full robust market, even if we don't have the entertainment sector, even if we don't have our kids club be physically there. We're working on some virtual options for that, but we just want to have everybody have a place to sell. I know so many of the festivals and fairs and things have been canceled, and this is kind of their only option, and we don't want to not have them next year when hopefully this is all over. A lot of these are in jeopardy of going out of business, and we don't want to see that.
That's awesome. Well, and that's something for as consumers out there, as a consumer here, for us to look forward to, because thank you for mentioning that a lot of our festivals and things have been canceled. And so these small businesses, your market is literally the only way they're going to be able to make money this year. So the support's huge. And what about you, Linda, for Main Street? What would you see as some good moonshots for phase 2?
Well, like Sarah was saying, our festivals, like our Klahaya Days, was canceled. And I know,
I'm just sorry.
There's a lot of vendors that sell there, and that might be their biggest, that and possibly the fair, if they actually also are at the Evergreen Fair. That's their business. That's what they do. That's their primary income source for the year. So one of the things, as we move forward in the phases, obviously we're going to open up more and more businesses, and there will be more and more capacity. What we would like to try to see is some way to enhance capacity outdoors for some of the businesses, so that if restaurants have 25 or 50% capacity, there could be a seating area outside with proper distancing that could then, have people could take and go, and maybe we could have some more of our our musicians be able to provide some kind of music, because they're hurting too. A lot of people that are actually artists that paint or sculpt and would have sold items, maybe they could also have booths or something else. We're trying to think of how we can support some of those additional vendors that would have had a place in our city during the festival times. So it's all just stuff we're kind of tossing around, but I would love to see a vibrant community again. Just on a smaller scale, so that there was at least some venue for all of those people who used to come and celebrate our summer months with us.
Yeah, no, and I love the way you're thinking, because I think those are actually very realistic ways to get folks back engaged in the community and supporting small businesses. So they're almost not even moonshots. I think it's just common sense, Linda. So you're gonna, again, I gotta say, you being in this leadership role during this time is huge, because those are real, they're common sense, and they're doable. And girl, you've got my support any way I can help. So I'm overwhelmed, because there's so many challenges and so many struggles, but just talking with both of you right now, I feel so hopeful. It's been a really hard few days for all of us and all of our communities. And so just having a conversation about the future of small business, supporting small businesses, this is all about hope. This is all about giving love to the folks who have really given us love by providing their wares. So thank you for doing the work that you're doing. And before we close, is there anything else you want to share with folks about the people that you're serving? I know, Sarah, you've got this exciting news about new markets opening. And then Linda, if you want to wrap us up with anything from the city level.
I am excited. It always comes with a little bit of terror too, to go through the motions. Thankfully, I've had a couple of weeks under my belt. But we're just hoping for a positive impact on our community, especially after the last few days, that we can move forward and show what Snohomish is about, what Lake Stevens is about, what Stanwood is about, and how we truly support our businesses. No violence or anything like that needed.
Yes.
And we're just excited to kind of get through this.
Yes, thank you. And
And
Linda, how about you?
Yeah, thanks, April. And thank you, Sarah, for being here as well. I think I would just want to let everybody know that regardless of maybe some of the stereotypes that you've seen played out about Snohomish the past couple of days, I would say that the majority of us, the vast majority of us, don't subscribe to any of those views that you may have seen. We strive to be a welcoming community, and everybody is welcome in Snohomish. And in case there's any doubt, Black Lives Matter. And I'm just going to say that that's what we want everybody to know, that we understand why. We understand that there needs to be justice, and we understand that we can talk about this peacefully, and that we can try to address it for the good of all.
Thank you so much for saying that. And just like you said, the peaceful nature of it. It's safe to go to Snohomish. It's safe to be in community there. You know, I've been there with my family. It's a loving, wonderful place with amazing people. And the few bad apples that have gotten out there and given it a bad name, that's not the whole of the city. So thank you for saying that. Well, thank you both for being with us today for this powerful, powerful conversation. I just want to let viewers know that we are going to have a special edition of Kitchen Conversations this Thursday at 6 p.m. The topic's going to be Black in the Suburbs. Given the events of the last week or so, I think it's an important conversation that we should have. It'll be an hour long, and it'll be with women from the community talking about their experiences living in the suburbs. So I just want to thank you both again for being here. Be safe out there. I will probably see you both at the market this week in Snohomish. Because it's a fabulous place to be. And for viewers out there, we will have links to all of Sarah's markets because she's getting the thing done out there. So you got to go out, support your businesses, and just see the amazing work that's happening in our community. So thank you again. Everyone have a great rest of your day, and be safe out there.
Thank you,
Thank
April.
you.
Thank you.